The creative process. We are going to deepen in our understanding and our application of the law. The law. The law is the principle of how life gets to be the way that it is. And when we go deeper with the law, we have freedom. Freedom. So we stop feeling that we're victims of circumstance or that there's a God in the sky trying to punish us or teach us a lesson. Freedom. We also have a sense of empowerment. So we have energy to engage with life challenges and opportunities. And when we use the law, we become creators. So we don't quit our daydreams. Like Russ encouraged us to do, we don't quit. We are creators. We reveal the magnificence of who we are. So do you want that? Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. So do I. Good. All right. And I'm so grateful, with the law, we don't want to fight the law. Like, I've fought the law. Guess who won? Who won? The law won, right? Okay. So has anybody here fought the law? Like, we've tried to resist okay, I've got a couple. Tried to resist realizing that life has a way of being and a way of creating, and we are part of it. So we do have people that are new, and I'm so glad. We're in a series where we're looking at the fundamentals of our teaching, the science of mind. And these fundamental principles are part of our 100-plus-year-old science of mind teaching philosophy. So our philosophy was founded by Dr. Ernest Holmes, and it's a correlation, it's a combination, an integration of religious ideas, scientific principles like metaphysical principles, and philosophy. How does life get to be the way it is? So let us take a look at this principle, the creative process. So we have the creative process slide, which tells us there is one infinite reality, and it operates through universal law of cause and effect. The universal law is impersonal, automatic, and intelligent. The universal law receives the direct impress of spirit's impulse and acts upon it to bring it into form. Law is action. Law is that life is saying yes to us. Law is that there is spiritual ideation, and as we cooperate with it, that is how life gets to be the way it is, on a macro level, universal level, and on an individual level. So I invite you to bring to mind a desire that you have, an impulse that you have, where you want to have a greater expression of the divine, or where you want to have something different in your experience, or you want to change, or you want an insight, but something where you do have a desire. So right now, everybody, it could be something on an individual level. So it could be health and wholeness in the body temple. Maybe I've experienced dis-ease and I want to have an experience of wholeness. It could be something in love and relationship. I know for years I would come to centers like this. I was at the Agape Center in Los Angeles, and just like here, there was a prayer zone in the corner, and after service, we were invited to go and speak our prayer, and I would line up every Sunday, and I'm like, well, where's my boyfriend? And so you may have a very elevated prayer request like that, or it could be in the area of love and relationship. You're looking for peace and harmony in the family. Maybe there's been loss or alienation and you want a sense of closeness. It could be an aspect of self-love, but it could be, that's another category. Health's a category, love and relationships a category, and then the final category, I would call it money, purpose, contribution. It might be for you individually, I want to get out of the cycles of debt. Or it could be, I have a dream to offer my gifts to the world and I want to make a greater contribution. But choose something in your mind. And if you feel completely satisfied on an individual level, by all means, choose for this conversation something in the collective, because Lord, this timeline, we as a collective, we could use a greater sense of the fullness, the alignment with reality, right? So it could be justice and inclusion. It could be peace on earth instead of war. It could be a sense of greater stewardship of the planet. But choose something for this conversation. And if all else fails, maybe it's your team winning the big game. So, all right. So everybody's got something in your mind, right? All right. So with something in our minds for a greater desire, how does the law work? So one of the best ways to describe the law is our beautiful Science of Mind teaching symbol. And so this is a symbol that we see in our wonderful art piece, and then we have it up on the slide. So the symbol is the circle, and then the V in the center. And it's an experience that happens, as we said, universal and individual. The circle represents one infinite reality, no beginning, no end. This is how life is eternally. And the V down the center is how life is created, the creative process. Spirit, law, and body. Spirit. This is the realm of the impulse, the direction, the vision. It's the prayer request. It's the intention. The realm of the law is the receptive, the response, it's the action, it's the mirror reflecting back. And then the realm of the body is material things, it's circumstances, it's events, it's stuff that comes and goes. So one way of thinking about it, and this is what's being taught in our youth church, is seed, soil, and plant, which is so simple, but it really gets it, doesn't it? The seed is the idea, the soil is the medium through which the idea comes, and the plant is the result. Another way of thinking about it is cause and effect, and the law is the and. Some will think about it as spirit is masculine ideation, law is feminine receptivity and mystery and inclusion, and then body is the result. So there's different ways of thinking about these terms and how they show up. And I want to bring out that the idea that life is lawful is something that the ancient peoples wondered and discovered for themselves, right? Is that you can imagine thousands and thousands of years ago, individuals like we do today and sometimes wonder, why is there a war over here and a terrible thing happening to this one over here and this one seems like they have so much? Why is this happening? And the Hermetics, the Egyptian peoples started to discover life is lawful. We have ancient religious teachings that began to say, you know, it's the rain is going not on just the unjust, but the just and the unjust. So think about it. The ideas of, in the Eastern tradition, karma. She's a witch, right? Karma. Karma is life gets reflected back to you. There's some kind of destiny, and we're working it out, and that's an explanation for why things happen. Karma is a way of describing the law. And in the Western philosophies, even the ideas of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, that's an upgrade. That's an upgrade from it's inexplicable to it's fair. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And in our tradition, we tend to look at ancient teachings and we look for the symbolic or the metaphysical meaning. So think of this phrase, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Now that can sound like it's a punishing God in the sky. However, if you understand it metaphysically, Lord means law. Dr. Michael Beckwith used to say, the Lord is the great law of life. So when we hear Lord, we think law. So vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, is saying life has reflection, response, circumstance, correspondence, and that what you put in, cause, gets revealed as effect, and it is impersonal, automatic, and intelligent. And I was thinking really about this, like that our relationship to Jesus is the relationship of such appreciation that Jesus was a master teacher and a master example of living in both love, that love is one thing, the givingness of God, it's all there is. I'm doing the circle. Love and law, that life is created through the creative process. So I've used a lot of words. Jesus did it in 8 words. It is done unto you, say it with me, as you believe. It is done unto you as you believe. And that as is doing a lot of work in that sentence because it is the law. So when you look at the teachings of Jesus from a metaphysical perspective, it's a beautiful way to really understand how to be a practitioner of truth, how to take infinite ideas and to trust that the law is working on them and then to manifest them. All right. So as I've been alluding to, the creative process then shows up for us as individuals. And so we have another description. Individuals having the same threefold nature use the creative process to shape our human experience in alignment with the whole, perfect, and complete reality. So we have the same threefold nature. We have spirit, law, and body. And this creative principle, we use it in our individual lives to shape experience. And the question really becomes is what I'm creating and experiencing in alignment with whole, perfect, and complete reality? Because if it's not, there's something for me to look at. And so I want you to hold that desire that you've been thinking about, but this is really where the practice comes out. So the reason that there are those on the spiritual path for a lifetime is that there's always more to be revealed. So if we live in a universe that's infinite, it means that there is always more. If we feel that we are experiencing love in our relationships, there's always ways to have more of the experience of love. If we feel that we are being of service to the world, there's always more ways to be of service. Not because we're insufficient, but because life is progressive. There's always more planes of experience, things to discover, more to realize. And that is the call to keep coming back. That's why people come for years to a spiritual center, is that we are always encouraged to say, how much more can I discover, reveal, create, and share? And I loved in our series, I think it was last week, Reverend Karen Einhaus really put us, for us as spiritual beings, we don't have to search to be love. All we're doing is clearing the blocks to more of that love revealing. And so this is a little bit of we usually do this in our conversations. It's a little bit of a advertisement for continuing your spiritual practice, right? Yeah. So the reason we have visioning and prayer and classes and workshops and prayer partners and morning meditations and journaling and all of the things that we have is because, think about it, and I'm going to have you, if you're comfortable, do it with me. Take your hands and rise them up and imagine that this is the area of spirit for the thing that you're working with. So what is the alignment with true reality that applies in your situation? What is the quality of the divine, infinite, eternal, and unconditional? What is it that there's more of that you want to experience? So that is your spiritual area. And then you can go ahead and put your hands almost on your temples to represent law of mind. In this area of thought, see, mind, consciousness, it's the thoughts that go through our mind, it's emotional reaction, It's held in place by our conversations, by repetition, by intensity. What is the nature of the soil that is in your mind? And could it be aligned more with what you desire? And then finally, you can kind of put your hands down, maybe on your lap. Put your hands down and just look, what are the circumstances in my life in this area? What is it that I'm experiencing? And you can gently ask yourself, what is it I must be thinking and empowering to have this experience? All right, shake it a little bit and smile at your neighbor. Look at that, you just did a little mudra. Very good. And you notice I asked a question that sometimes we throw the red challenge flag in Science of Mind if people ask this question. But you know what it is. It's what were you thinking? What are you thinking that is contributing to this result? And we can ask that question with courage and compassion and kindness, can't we? Because it does, think about the thing that you're working with. If, we'll use my experience, where's my boyfriend? Okay, so I was just, where's my boyfriend? Where's my boyfriend? Pray for me, pray for me. But then you had to look at what was happening in my life. I had a lot of judgment about men and relationships. I talked to my friends about how hard it was to meet someone. I spent a lot of time referring back to old relationships that didn't work. All of my friends were bitter divorcees. And, I pretty much was steeped in the idea that I could want it, but this thing might not be such a good idea. It might not work, right? And so it was fair to ask not just, what do you want, but what are you doing and believing that is either empowering or not empowering the thing that you want? And when that kind of conversation started, instead of me running to someone else to try to get something, I started to create the environment within to be the thing I desired. So I also want to say that in our teaching, the path goes like this, right? It goes from, we take the spiritual idea, we know that the law will act upon it, we till the soil of our consciousness, and we see the result. And for those of you that are in the 12-step programs, you'll really understand this. We can also start with the behaviors, the circumstances, the effects, and move our way back up. So you've probably heard act your way into right thinking. If there's behavior that changes, it's natural that the thinking then changes, which is an invocation or an invitation to the spiritual ideas showing up. So think about your area. And in fact, we'll do the mudra going back up. So start with your hands on your lap again. And look around the area that you're thinking about, and what, if anything, would be a behavior change that you could make? What is a behavior that you know is not in alignment with the thing you desire? How could that shift? And then bring hands to the temple. If that behavior was changed, what new idea would it spark? What new thought would it create? And with that new thought, hands above you, open up. With that new thought, what spiritual quality would be activated? All right, shake it out a little bit, and again, smile at your neighbor. You're going both directions in the divine creative process. And I'll give a couple more tips for the various areas of our practice. If it is an area of health that you are looking to have a different experience with the creative process, in the area of health and wellness, there's a fundamental idea that's really important. It's subtle, but really important. And that is, healing is a revelation of wholeness, capital W, wholeness. And wholeness is a quality of being. So wholeness is not necessarily a cure of a diagnosis or a situation. It's subtle. One can have a dis-ease in the body, have a prayer for wholeness, And the wholeness that gets revealed is a sense of peace about it and integration. And the situation in the body may or may not change. And so just take that in if you're working with health and wholeness for yourself or for another. I see you in wholeness means that I don't believe the diagnosis or the circumstances is greater than the power of God. I'm not going to give power to what's called a secondary causation. And it means I know wholeness reveals for you individually in a way that I trust your soul will reveal. And then in the area of love and relationships, so, this is partly my story and the story of many, is that if after the service you join with a practitioner and you say, I'm looking for my lover, they will say, of course, we'll pray for divine right companionship for you. And they will probably ask you, and when you get that person or you're in that situation, what does that mean? What will you get? What will you be? Because what they're going for is, what is the quality that you're longing for that you believe this relationship will supply? And that's when people, and in my case back then, it was like, oh, well, when I have a partner, then I'm going to take really good care of myself. And then I'm going to be a lot more patient and easy to be with. And then I'm going to be, and I had a whole story of things I was going to be. And it was practically like, oh, honey, start now, don't wait, right? So this is it's a really, really important piece, is that no one can bring us either love or supply or right action or that we don't have the capacity to experience. So we need to be the thing that we long to be so that we're a match for the thing we desire. And then when it comes to money, wealth, contribution, your purpose, this is an area where I highly encourage you to understand something that's called mental equivalent. So if you imagine that the infinite spirit is like a Niagara Falls of supply, and we go to that Niagara Falls, but we bring a thimble, all we can get is a thimble full. If we bring a bucket, we get a bucket full. And so there's a saying, an Ernest Holmes saying somewhere, where it's something like, we cannot make a bigger law, but we can make a bigger bucket. So you kind of get that, right? It's like, I can imagine something greater. So if it's around prosperity, if all I think is I just want to be able to pay the rent, then that can occur for me as prosperity. But if I have no idea or image of something greater, it's unlikely that it magically occurs. So part of what we do in working the creative process is we expand our mental equivalent. And one of the ways to do that is, like, for example, if you're a person who cares about artistry and purpose and making a difference in the world, I highly encourage you to be here for Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin. So they are individuals, they're artists, and they have made a living in the world with a body of work that is just tremendous and authentic and beautiful. So that's the kind of thing, like, connect yourself to the thing you desire. Okay. And then finally, I wanted to invite us as individuals and as a community to make our study of the law feel rich and contemporary. So I brought a slide with images of three things: Ernest Holmes' Creative Mind and Success, Deepak Chopra, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, and then a title from a recent Popular Mechanics article, Scientists Believe Your Very Own Consciousness Can Interact with the Whole Universe. And I'm going to speak just a little bit about these three. All right, so Dr. Ernest Holmes was born, I think, something like 1890 and passed in 1960. And one of his very first books was this little book called Creative Mind and Success. I believe the first publication, 1919. And I will tell you, it's a little old-timey in its examples for sure, but it's a classic and it's good. It's so simple and it's so oriented toward the nature of law is such that if you want your business to succeed, picture the people coming in. Speak about your business in positive terms. Infuse yourself with the ideas that business is successful. And it's just this simple, beautiful way for us to understand that life is lawful. What I also like in that book is he gives the flowers to Mary Baker Eddy by saying, do not let age be a limit to what you can accomplish. So she started her ministry in her 60s. And anything where they give the flowers to women in their 60s, I love it, right? So Creative Mind and Success, Ernest Holmes. And for those of you that think about this, some of you will kind of catch this. His very first little book was about the law. So 1959, what's his last little book? It's this thing called You, which is love. And there's something about, in between, he's prolific as an author. But these slim, simple volumes, it's law and love. And then Deepak Chopra, this is a 1990 book, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. So I use the word law, and law can be almost like a category, because underneath the word law, metaphysical laws, there's many. Law of attraction, laws of correspondence, law of least effort, etc. And Deepak Chopra writes in such powerful contemporary language about the nature of life as pure potentiality, and that we, through our intentions and our desires and our daydreams, that we are able to interact with life in a way that is lawful and easy. So what I got as I skim through this again is there's something called the law of least effort. And sometimes in my life, I've been like the law of most struggle. It's just like I want something, and it's like I pray, and then I'm gonna uncover the soil and see how it's going. And the law of least effort says, when you align yourself with what is true, the law presents you with the next right action. Relax, girl, and do the next thing. Our New Vision Center Leadership Council just did a book study on the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. It's a good one to pick up again. And then, look at us. So the big fella sent this to me. So just so you all know, no one's worried, is eventually I did find a boyfriend, so thank goodness, right? And, have a wonderful marriage, and it's been a great area of spiritual, learning and loving. And it's wonderful to be on the spiritual path together. So Bill sent me this article, Popular Mechanics. There's the author of the article, Susan Leahy, what she correlates is 3 things: quantum process, quantum biology, and quantum geometry. And I'm going to use my notes to give you some thoughts about that. So there's an idea that consciousness operates like the quantum process. Energy shows up in waves, and when we observe it, it becomes what? Boop, a particle. And so experiments on energy and particles and light conducted in cold little places demonstrated that that's true. Observation creates experience. But many people said that's not really showing what consciousness does, until just recently, quantum biology, which understands how plant photosynthesis works, notices that our brains have things called microtubulars that have a coherence with energy outside. So that biology in our brains is similar to the idea of taking energy and creating. And then finally, quantum geometry says there are potential universes existing alongside ours, like that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and that if you do the math and the trajectories of things, the fact that we have choice means that we can connect with different possibilities, different universes. So basically, scientists believe your very own consciousness can interact with the whole universe, and we say, scientists, we agree. And I think with that article, we'll put it in the newsletter this week so people can take a look at that. So I've given you a sense of the creative process, and we've talked a lot about individually, like how do you maximize your own experience of life and deepen your own spirituality. What I also want to say is when we are free and we are empowered and we are creative, we can then, especially as a community where so many of us, I'll speak for myself, so much of my life is now turning toward how can I be a beneficial presence to a world that, for goodness sake, absolutely needs our prayer and our action. So if you have an area, peace, justice, inclusion, making a difference, all of those areas that are in the social and collective and political realm benefit from you being a person who is using the creative process. Our prayers matter, and our prayers will guide us to action that matters. So that's how I see you: free, empowered, and creative. All right, and so it is. We'll pray about this. Yes. Okay. Oh yeah, we love this. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let us pray. We take this into prayer. We're so grateful that the infinite presence of God is revealing itself in our spiritual understanding of the great law of life. We turn our attention and our awareness into the magnificence of Spirit's impulse and great reality. We understand that we are naturally one with this great reality, and from this, our prayers indicate how we use it. I speak a word. I accept for everyone in our online campus, here in the sanctuary, everyone who ever engages with this message and beyond, that we are collectively connected to a greater reality, and we are revealing that reality through our every thought, word, and deed, because that is natural, that is powerful, that is who we are. And so out of that comes wholeness and peace and right action and faith and truth and beauty and freedom and abundance and joy, because that is the nature of life revealing as us. And so I release this prayer giving great gratitude for the law that says yes. We know that as it is spoken, it is done. We let go, we let God, and together we say, and so it is.